I love having a diverse taste in music. I love this Spoon album, and sometimes even this Spoon album. But despite my eclectic taste comprised of 3 albums, there's one genre I've always wanted to get into more. Metal. And today's the day where I do the thing I just said I've always wanted to do. So, this isn't an expert opinion or a definitive guide, this is just one guy trying to get more into metal and sharing his thoughts in the process. First off, I just want to lay it out. I don't hate metal or anything. This is not going to be Metal Hater destroyed by riffs and growls. Metal and I are not on bad terms, it's just we've seen each other at parties before, but haven't really struck up a conversation. To change that, I asked my followers on Twitter, what's one metal album to recommend to a newcomer? I then made a list of the most mentioned albums and set out to become a lover of all things metal. First up, Pizza Death. Oh, I get it, I'm already being pranked. Let's actually start out with 3 classics. First, Black Sabbath's Paranoid. One could reasonably consider this a godfather of heavy metal. It exemplifies the qualities that will define metal going forward. Loud and menacing guitars, intense drums, growling vocals. You can hear all of this on the fantastic opener, War Pigs. Generals gathered in their masses. Get out of the way. Loving the Ludacris feature too. Honestly though, if I didn't know any better, I'd say some songs on here are straight up blues. Makes sense, since Black Sabbath came up right at the tail end of a big blues boom in late 60s Britain. It's a great record, and it showed me how captivating the barest foundations of metal can be. Next up, Metallica. Before I listened to any record, I knew Metallica were gonna be in here somewhere. It's in their name for God's sake. The specific record though, I wasn't sure about. The Black Album, the one with the snare drum, the one with no bass, the one with the table. But the record that most people suggested was Master of Puppets. From what I've read about Metallica, this record came from their legendary thrash metal period, before they got more accessible and popular. For the record, thrash is one of many subgenres within metal, and one that is defined by its speed. That doesn't mean the record flies by though, because these songs are way longer than the ones on Paranoid. But I never found them boring. In fact, Metallica do a great job of keeping things fresh with tempo changes, which will end up being a big part of many of these records. It also helps that both Puppets and Paranoid have had major pop culture moments. Master of Puppets, the song, featured heavily in the latest season of Stranger Things, and Black Sabbath's Iron Man was famously used in the hit Marvel film Howard the Duck. The third classic is Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast. This one caught a ton of flack upon release, with some organizing burnings of the band's music, and these days it's a harmless mainstay of SiriusXM's Octane. SiriusXM, burn it. The songs on Number of the Beast belong in stadiums. They are epic and catchy and make you feel like a badass. The title track and Run to the Hills being highlights especially. I'm feeling pretty confident so far. Let's jump ahead and check out some black metal. Darkthrone's A Blaze in the Northern Sky. The next album is by CoComelon. Okay, I think I bit off a little more than I can chew here, but I want to give this one another try, so for now I'm gonna move on. Let's try out some other records. Another album I saw constantly recommended was System of a Down's Toxicity, which is funny because, as I learned by doing more research, a lot of people don't actually consider this metal. And I can see where they're coming from. This is a major step away from the records I've heard so far. I'm definitely noticing a strong Elton John influence. Many listeners would say SOAD leans more alternative rock. I don't have a dog in that debate though, so I'll just be over here in my corner liking the album. Regardless of what subgenre you call it, Toxicity is great. I love the various stylistic change-ups, I love the explicit no-holds-barred politics, and I love lead vocalist Serj Tankian. He's wildly expressive and fits every sonic detour the band takes. I also saw people recommending Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. Really? I'm not saying it's bad, it's a damn good record. I don't know where I'd be in life if I didn't hear this in elementary school. It's got great hooks and engaging vocals, whether they're sung by Chester Bennington or rapped by Mike Shinoda. The reason I was surprised is my own bias, having grown up hearing them on pop radio. I know it's kinda silly to say, but Linkin Park have always been pop music in my mind. I mean, listen to In the End again. Are you telling me these guys weren't huge Doobie Brothers fans? Linkin Park and System of a Down both belong to a subgenre called nu metal, which blends metal metal with conventional rock and occasionally even hip-hop. Same with Deftones apparently, though I didn't really hear that when checking out their acclaimed 2000 record, White Pony. Apparently this album was the start of them tinkering and experimenting with their sound, which has led them to be, at least from what I've seen, one of the most well-respected metal-adjacent bands today. I didn't love this. Everything about this record on paper should be an easy win for me, but at least right now, I missed that thing. You know, that moment where everything clicked. Then again, I felt the same way about Spoon when I first checked out Kill the Moonlight, and now they are my entire music taste. But I still want to dive more into Deftones stuff in the future. And speaking of diving in, let's run through a few more records I checked out. Now, Ghost is a band that I already know and enjoy. The first song I ever heard from them was from this record, Meliora, Cerise, and I love this song, especially the chorus. I can see through the scars inside you. God, that part sounds so good. The rest of the album does not disappoint. I love the addition of elements from symphonic and choral music, gives the full album an epic feel, and validates my music degree. Definitely worth checking out. Gojira's From Mars to Sirius, I'll Burn It is considered a big deal in progressive metal, with these titanic riffs and an overarching narrative centered on environmentalism. I'd also call this one epic, but not in the same way as Meliora. It communicates its ambitions less through diverse instrumentation and more through how powerful every note feels. Another one worth checking out. Slayer's mainstream breakthrough, Rain in Blood, is just as abrasive as all these records before it, not just in sound, but in lyrical matter. The opener is about the experiments done on humans in World War II concentration camps. But what surprised me most is how clean it sounds, which can be credited to Rick Rubin? Rick Rubin produced this? It's considered a thrash masterpiece, a thrashterpiece, and it made Slayer a top player in metal at the time, along with Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax. Check out the song Raining Blood off the album Rain in Blood, presumably dedicated to Rain and Blood. In that same thrash vein, I also checked out a more recent record, Power Trip's Nightmare Logic. It's ferocious and lean. I am bummed though that their lead vocalist passed away in 2020, and I wish the band the best with whatever they choose to do next. But overall, a brutal display of power, but not a vulgar one, because that already exists. Vulgar display of power by Pantera. The biggest distinction of this from the other albums was the sense of groove, as Pantera belonged to another subgenre called groove metal. And out of any record I've listened to so far, their ability to switch grooves at the drop of a dime kept me the most engaged, especially on This Love. Let's do one more recent record, Deafheaven's Sunbather. This was one of those metal records that managed to cross into my musical circles when it came out, and I'm not afraid to say I enjoyed it then and now. I am also not afraid to admit I did not know the lead singer was singing words until very recently. It's not like you can really hear them anyway. Sunbather is often considered as much of a shoegaze record as it is a metal record. I will posit that it also belongs to a third genre called good. The ending section of Closer, the Pecan Tree, always gets me emotional. Okay, with all those records under my belt, let's check out that Darkthrone album one more time. Okay. I still don't really care for it. For the record, this is considered a seminal album in Norwegian black metal, and in giving it another listen, I think I better appreciate how tight the whole band is, how each member brings their own kind of sheer noisy aggression while not overpowering the mixes, like the kind of gorgeous ending of In the Shadow of the Horns. But I can't bring myself to say that I loved it. And you know what? Even though I've enjoyed basically all of these albums, there's some part of me that's still not fully in love with the overarching genre of metal. Why is that? It's not the guitars. I like the ominous feeling created from the drop tuning. It's not the drums. The ludicrously fast tempos can reach superhuman levels of technicality. It's not the vocals, I think. Not just because I enjoy how abrasive they can be, but because I respect anyone who can pull off growls like that without turning their throat into a mangled mess. Trust me, I tried learning how to do it back in college. It's tricky. Maybe it's all of it. All of it happening all at once. The this might be too strong of a word, but monotony of it all. At best, it could leave me drained, and at worst, stressed as hell. Of course, that's not a universal experience. Someone might turn to metal to get their aggression out. I can understand that. It's like half the reason I listen to 100 gecs. That might also be why I've appreciated the detours from System of a Down and Ghost more quickly. They weave in new elements that contrast and enhance the expected metal. But then again, it might also be because the sounds they're weaving in are sounds that I'm already familiar with. Shout out to the people on Twitter who said exactly that, because you're 100% right. I enjoy aspects of metal when they're in genres I already listen to. I enjoyed that Poppy record from 2020, Rina Sawayama's debut from 2019, a few baby metal songs, plus I had my Sunbather phase in 2013, I'm not above the law. And now that I think about it, you could levy the same monotony complaint against pop, or dance, or rap. Someone might think those genres are nothing but the same over and over again. I would disagree, but I've also spent more time in those genres. Despite how I might feel, I don't rationally think it's fair to paint all of metal as monotonous. With more time, I'm sure I'd have a better sense of how metal artists and genres differ from each other. I definitely plan on continuing my own journey with metal, but let me pass the question on to you. What do you think of these records if you've heard them? Did you like them? Are there other records you think a metal newbie like me should check out? And if you want to go on the same journey I went on, I've left a playlist of my favorite tracks from these listening sessions in the description for you to check out. Now let's wrap this up with the greatest metal album of all time, the Pizza one again? Oh, this is actually good.